Fix that. And there we have it. Happy beginning of your week, or the week, a week, my week. I don't really have a week. It's the beginning of this next arbitrary cycle that's coming up the next 7 days for many people. So happy that. And thank you for being here. I just peeked at the news. Hey, Chuck. And the top headline was something about Kate, Princess Kate, and a Mother's Day photo or something. I didn't read past that. As if there's not anything going on in the world right now, if that's their top. So, and I don't have anything on Twitter. Oh, wait, do I? Let me pull Twitter up. That will help. All this spam. I've gotten more spam from Twitter since the, what do you call it? A merger, a transfer, takeover, rebrand. Let's just say the rebrand than I did before. What's going on, Chuck? Oh, here's Chris. Ooh. What's today?
So,
is it Pi Day?
It is Pi Day, yeah. I got my math shirt on today. I used to have 3 of these. I used to have I'd have 2 red ones. One that's got math on it. One that's got chemistry stuff on it. They're both red. And I used to have a moon phase one, but I sold that a while back. But
it looks like Frank approves. Maybe I can't tell. He's excited. At least he's not shitting all over it.
They came from ThinkGeek when that was still a thing. I think that ThinkGeek just got absorbed into GameStop now, so they don't really.
GameStop is still around.
Yeah, it's still around. But they used to have an offshoot store that was just merch called ThinkGeek, and they had really cool stuff in there. They had everything from typical pop culture stuff to just stuff like this. It was like nerdy stuff. So.
Yeah, I do know nerdy stuff. What's up? Hey, Cynthia. What's up with you? Just hanging out as usual, starting the week. There's Easter coming up, I think, in a few weeks. I hear.
That's what they say. The whole Catholic conflation of the resurrection of Christ with the ancient Maypole for fertility rituals, and the way they combine them together so that they would be so that people wouldn't practice both of them. So. Actual Cheerios from the breakfast spill, and they just stuck on there forever. That's pretty cool, man. Much respect for that. We made a lot of progress this last week, but still waiting on that letter. Who knows how long it takes? Who knows how long it takes for a single government agency to send a letter out?
Yeah. Oh, you're right.
When they want something from you,
is
get the
this
letter.
State bureaucracy you're dealing with, or federal?
Federal, the worst. Well, a combination of both, because it's like Texas state disability plus federal, so it's like.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's administered by the state.
Yeah.
45 to 50 years. Hey, Leah. Good to see you.
Hey, Leah.
It's an open panel, so you're welcome to come up and chat if you want, as is anyone else.
Please do. Like
more or
that is
less for the most part. Those
that.
those that are not, you pretty much know who they are.
Yeah, I mean, like that is the point of our show is conversations with people that we either know or don't know that well, and we want to get to know better. So
Yes, and Santa stories. And Chris, you owe us a Santa story. I'm not buying this. I don't have a Santa story.
I had a Santa story.
Oh, you were the Easter Bunny Santa.
I was
Okay, so
I was this, I was Santa
Cynthia
and the
owes
Easter
us
Bunny
a
in the
Santa
same 12-month
story.
period. Mm.
I think MoOse still owes us a Santa story. Preferably tragic. It's definitely extra likes if it's sad and tragic Santa story.
I know that according. I don't remember, but
There's too
according.
much cheer in Christmas. It's time to
I mean,
balance
it's
some of that out.
really
Oh,
far away,
happy birthday!
really far away from Christmas. But
Damn, I wish we could do. Is birthday still copyrighted? Isn't it?
yeah, we can't do that. But I don't know. Like Leah, what do you want for your birthday? I can't guarantee that there's many things that like I we could produce for your birthday, but just tell us something that you want for your birthday, and we'll see what we can do. We'll come up with some sort of compromise.
Let me check the YouTube, see who's streaming. Is anything going on in the panel? I didn't look at panels all weekend. I
I
couldn't tell
looked
you.
I looked at panels for the first time this morning. I looked to see if there was anybody streaming or doing anything this morning. I didn't see. I saw a few good videos from a few good creators. You know, like pre-created videos, but no streams. Um, I say I posted the link to that new DJ Peach Cobbler video at the on the Discord, and
Oh yeah,
honestly,
I saw it. I didn't understand it.
you
I'm
didn't understand it? I thought it was hilarious, dude.
really,
He just he's just rapid fire on his jokes. He just makes fun of like culture stuff,
but it
just like
was an imaginary scenario. Like it just seems so.
some of it was
It's one of those
imaginary,
like
but
I don't have a cartoon brain. That type of humor doesn't land in my brain.
yeah,
And
well,
it seems so that's one of my issues with J-Rec. Not necessarily what he has to say, but his delivery. And blame OJ Simpson. Oh, I don't know what all that is, Frank. That was so long ago. I do remember the OJ Simpson chase. Because I was sitting on my patio, on the back patio, reading a book or something, and a friend of mine stopped by like after work, and the way he worked at the house, you had to walk around the side of the house usually because somebody was on the patio. That's usually how you got in or found each other. No one used the front door. So I remember him walking around the side of the house and coming around and seeing me in the patio and saying, "Hey, man, are you following the OJ Simpson thing?" And I had no idea what he was talking about. This was the first time I was hearing about it. I said, "What?" He said, "It's live on TV right now. There's a car chase. He murdered. Who did he murder? Nicole Kidman, his wife,
his Nicole Brown Simpson
and the lover."
and supposedly some dude, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so he murdered these people, and they're chasing, and I'm like, "What?" I couldn't even process all what he was saying. It was so wild, and so we went inside and turned the TV on, and I remember seeing the car chase and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess because of our age difference, you probably knew a lot more who O.J. Simpson was at the time. Like I remember when it happened too. I
I
remember
remember
being
him.
able to,
Wasn't he on Airplane?
yeah, he was in the
I
Naked
remember
Gun
from
series.
Airplane, but I
He
knew he
pl-
was a real sports person too.
yeah. I was too young to know that he was a sports star. I had seen Naked Gun or not, yeah, Naked Gun Part One or something like that. So but I didn't know that was him either. It's like the people are just talking like this OJ Simpson thing. It's like the biggest deal in the world. Like people were acting like he was like what I don't know who would be an equivalent celebrity today? Probably nobody. Like I don't know, Tom Cruise was 10 years ago or something like that. They're acting like he was like the biggest celebrity in the world that had murdered someone and was having a slow motion chase down the highway
But you
with
didn't
the
hear about him
cops.
for a while too. So he was like popular in the 70s,
Yeah,
80s maybe. But
popular
by
in the
the
'70s
time
and
of the
'80s.
car
Yeah.
chase, he hadn't been a name for a while. And all of a sudden, so you knew who he was, but he wasn't fresh in the news. So
You
all of
know
a
what
sudden
was
he pops up on the screen and it's this real life car chase murder thing.
I was shocked by how good this was, but the guy that made American Horror Story made a show called an anthology series called American Crime Story as well, and the first one was about the O.J. Simpson trial. and it's actually amazing. It actually, I mean, I don't know how true to life it is or whatever, how well researched, but
It's a documentary or like a biopic.
It's Cuba Gooding Jr. plays O.J. Simpson, so that tells you how
Okay.
it's not a documentary. But I mean, but
Yeah.
it's honestly like it made. First of all, like in my like I said, my brain didn't understand at all what was going on at that time. At least in terms of like whatever fictionalized terms they use, it made that whole thing make a lot more sense in context. It gave a lot more, and it's not like it's biased as you think it was. It's really a pretty like it's pretty unbiased and kind of shows both sides of it. It does not give like it doesn't come down hard on the side of like OJ Simpson was guilty or OJ Simpson was innocent or anything like that. It kind of leaves a lot of things like a lot of things ambiguous, and it's really well done. And like I mean, I would highly recommend anybody check that out. It's like a 10 episode like miniseries, kind of like a True Detective type thing, and and I mean it's really really freaking good. Like I watched it because like people kept recommending it to me, and I was like, I don't care about OJ Simpson. I don't give a shit about this. But I watched like the first episode, and then like I got sucked into it. Same thing happened with that show that came out not too long ago with Pam and Tommy.
Who?
They,
Pam and
they,
Tommy.
yeah, Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee, like whenever they did the sex
Who
tape
are
thing.
they?
Remember
Pamela Anderson is the blonde, big
the blonde?
boobs. I
Yeah,
don't even know what
there
she does. I just know her name.
she was in
Tommy
Baywatch.
Lee, isn't he a rock star?
Yeah, he was a rock star
I haven't
for
even heard
Motley
those
Crue.
names since the '80s. How are they
Right.
still even? Oh, hey, Busker.
What
Welcome.
band?
They were
what
only
band
about
was Tommy
was it
Lee was in?
Motley Crue.
Motley Crue. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
And
bands I
it's like the movie. It's like a 6 episode miniseries. It's not very long, and it's about the whole thing. Whenever there was a sex tape that got released from them,
Yeah.
and like the fallout of like their lives and everything, and like the person that released the sex tape and found it was like this kind of the scumbag dude that Seth Rogen plays, and it's actually, I mean, it's kind of funny too. It's kind of absurd and funny. There's a scene where Tommy Lee is like talking to his penis, and his penis talks back to him and stuff like that. It's pretty absurd and funny actually.
Whoa.
Was
But
that
Who's the Patterson family?
was it a made for television miniseries?
yeah, it was like
Yeah.
it was like FX or something like that though. It wasn't
Hey,
like Lifetime.
Chris, you ever seen? All right, so don't spoil the end for me. But the reason I forget about it because I saw it from the first. It only had 3 seasons. It's called The Leftovers. Have you seen that?
There's only 2 seasons.
No, there's 3.
There's 3?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I conflate the second and third season together because the first season I hate. I hate the first season of that show. But
yeah. I mean, like,
I'm not gonna spoil a thing, but the second and third season of that show are two of the best seasons of television I've ever seen.
Yeah,
by far.
That's what I'm thinking. It really fascinated me to watch it. I haven't seen it since it came out. One was like 2014 or something.
Yeah,
they were still using landlines like I do. I'm such a out of step person because I don't have a cell phone.
Isn't that crazy? Like how you can watch a show that was just set like not even 10 years ago, and they're still using landlines regularly,
right?
And it's like even though cell phones were more common by then, but still like the writing of whatever it was is old enough that like landlines were still like a regular thing.
Exactly.
And like people still had them in their homes even though they had cell phones. Like as soon as I had my cell phone. As soon as my wife both had cell phones, like I remember we had a landline in my house that I didn't even know the number to.
Yeah,
I couldn't have called it if I wanted to. Like it came with our cable package, and that was the last time I had a cable package. Last time I had a landline.
yeah.
Last time I had DSL internet. I mean, I didn't have.
But I mean, I use Wi-Fi. Obviously, I can't it's not plugged into the wall. I mean, it's plugged into the strip, this outlet with a charger.
I get you.
Oh yeah, I do too. I remember all of my old phone numbers.
And also hooked into the modem. There's one hooked into the modem, the base.
Do you still have like modem-based internet or something?
Well, yeah, it's a modem in the other room. And it's,
Is it a cable?
Your like fiber modem or your cable modem or whatever.
Ethernet?
Still has the phone line.
It has Wi-Fi. I know that much. I just know it goes through Comcast.
It's probably cable. probably. So.
Yeah, it's cable definitely, and I don't have cable television no more.
These are cable internet. Cable internet was good. Cable internet was before fiber came around. That was by far the best.
We
The
don't
best
have.
option you had.
That's all we have. I think up here is cable still.
Really, you guys don't
Y'all
have
have
fiber? Up
fiber?
there?
No.
Shit.
Seattle was going to be one of like the pilot towns for the Google Fiber, and they got approved and everything. At the last minute, it got snatched, and the project fell through. But we were going to be one of the test cities.
That sucks. Fiber internet is far superior. It's like the stability is better, even though I've had my issues here and there. But for the most part, stability wise, speed wise, like you get the same upload as you do download. It's just better overall. DSL wasn't barely better than dial up, but cable was good, and fiber is really good. But anyway. They finally got fiber in Texarkana, so that's making the prospect of moving there make it seem a little bit less.
I'm gonna mute myself. I
torturous.
have to pack my cigarettes on the night.
Are you?
I'm about to smoke a cigarette. So.
Are you still in danger of ending up there?
Yeah, I mean that's at this point, it's like the only thing we can really do.
Oh, I might end up back in Louisiana myself, but intentionally on purpose, not.
Well, if you want to come up with a plan, there are the thing about Texas, the thing about Dallas that is weird. If you want to rent an apartment right now, if you want to rent like a townhome or an apartment, you're looking at $1,800, $2,000 limit. If you want to find a house though in like a nice area, the price is only like maybe $500 more than that. $2,500 will rent you a nice like 4-bedroom house, but like it's just enough like to raise it out of the thing. So if you're interested in coming to Dallas, like let me know. Like we can work something out like that. But we just don't have the ability to we don't have the ability to pay $2,500 for a house. So I found so many rentals around the upskirts of like the nice parts, like kind of where it's still kind of rural, but it's still close to the city. There's a lot of houses up there that will rent for about $2,500, $3,000, like that are like huge. I'm talking about mansions, dude. I'm talking about like houses you would never think you could rent, like the houses that didn't used to go for rent, and you can get them for right now, like our rent here is already like $1,700 a month. So like it's not that much more, but it's enough more where like we couldn't afford it. So we've been trying to find a cheaper apartment, and apartments just don't come much cheaper unless you want to go move to the projects. And I mean, I'm not even opposed to moving to the projects, except for the fact that I've got kids. So if it was just me, I'd move to the projects. I'd live in the hotel I used to live in back up the road from here. Back then it was $192 a week, about $800 a month. And that was
No, what when you say projects, what city was it?
I mean, there's projects in every city around here. Just like I just mean government housing.
Okay, yeah, section.
I mean, and some of them aren't that bad. Don't get me wrong, it's not. But like every area around those projects, like. I mean, I'm not, and this isn't like this isn't a race thing or anything. There's plenty of white people that live in them. It's not about like it's not about
race.
It's
about crime.
It's about crime. Yeah, there's just a lot of crime around there. It's just like you see like when you're driving by them, you see cop cars out there constantly and stuff like that. And the honestly, the neighborhood I'm living in right now isn't much better than that, but it's a little bit better than that. So. And of course the cost of moving is ridiculous. So like the actual cost to actually move your shit is just insane.
What's the best way to make a move these days? Because they have all these different options. They have those crates you can load up, like those pods.
We did the pods.
They have rent like U-Haul. You can ship your shit. So what's the best? How do you evaluate how to make a move anymore?
We did pods when we moved from Vegas, and pods at the time was the most economical thing. Plus, it also gave you the most time. You could have like a week to load your pod up in front of your house, and you didn't have a time limit type thing. I don't know. I haven't looked into it yet much because we haven't had the money to. So it's been like, what's the point?
They bring the pod to you, and then they come and pick it up.
They bring the pod to you, and then when you're ready to pick it up, they come and attach the diesel part, and they drive it to wherever you tell them to drive it to, and then you unload it from there. Honestly, there's a couple of moving companies around here that actually aren't that even expensive. That'll actually come and like do the moving. Yeah, you have to pack. They don't pack for you, but they'll
Yeah.
actually
Well,
move your boxes.
packing I got
Th-
down.
they're not even that
I got
much
plenty of
more
time.
expensive than the pod thing, but like there's the pods are probably the best. Either that or just standard U-Haul, just standard renting a truck and paying the mileage on it. Like isn't like especially since we're not moving like really far. Just if we move in the city, if we moved from like here in Irving to like Plano or something like that, it would cost like $40 for the truck rental. It's just a matter of the physical labor. And when I have the vertigo and Lindsay's got her thing, it's just like it's really difficult to do, but like I can do it. I've been taking these clothes around and selling them here the last few days. Man, dude, I busted my fucking legs and ass
Did you ever sell
twice
your
yesterday.
jeans?
I did.
The traveling hood of the sisterhood of the traveling pants, whatever.
In the
You were doing that.
past week, I have sold $750 worth of clothes.
Nice.
Yeah, I've done pretty good with that, and like there's still more places I could go to sell them to, and like I didn't even take a lot of stuff into a lot of places. I took like just like a tub or here and just to do it real fast because it was like late at night. It was getting close to their closing time, and I got I got decent money for all the stuff. Like I'm like fuck Poshmark. I don't have time for like the Poshmark thing because it's just like because you sit people buy stuff on Poshmark and then they complain about it like stuff that I know is like was in perfect condition because I always check it real carefully. And then like I just the other day I sold a shirt to a guy and he's like, this shirt has definitely been worn. The shirt had tags on it. It'd never been worn before in its life. And like the guy was like, this shirt's definitely been worn multiple times and its collar is like all yellow and stained. He sent pictures and it looks fine. It looks like a white shirt, just like it's supposed to. And so like I'm just sick of like I just don't want to deal with fuck Poshmark and all that shit anymore. I'm just like I just want to get
So
rid of
you're
this
not
stuff.
doing the Poshmark at all now? You stopped.
I mean, it's still there.
posting?
It's still there, but I mean, I probably sold like about 90% of the inventory I had on there to these resale shops. And like,
Oh, okay.
if I had sold each piece individually over time, I probably would have made more money. But this is a much faster way to get cash we need for for like expenses and stuff like that. So it's just a pain in the ass to do it. I mean, we load up this little Prius we have with all these tubs and everything, and then you drive to like I mean, I did this 4 years ago. Whenever COVID first started happening, I couldn't open the store, and I went to these resale shops then, and there was like 8 of them in the whole city, and now there's like 50 of them. There's like so many resale shops to sell to. Like I don't even like. I'm just trying to find the good ones right now, but it's a crazy market. But they pay you pretty good money. Like I mean, like, and it's not like they take like not like they'll take like your whole tub. Like if I have a tub like 100 items in it, they're not gonna take that whole tub and give you $100 for it. Like they take 40 items out and give you $200 and something. It's pretty good. Yeah. So I'm pretty good. Have you ever thought about selling drugs? Just Frank, back whenever I was a degenerate teenager and I hung out with other drug dealers, my only experiences trying to I never tried to sell drugs myself, not for profit, but I tried to help a drug dealer friend of mine out twice to do a drug deal, and both times I got straight up ripped off.
Oh.
And I got one dude that everyone knew him too. He wasn't like an unknown, like he was somebody that everyone knew. He jumped in the car and I just I did like the cool thing. I was like I just had the drugs in in the console, just like sitting there, just be like, that's your stuff, man. Just I just need the money. And he dropped a $1 bill and like bolted. And I got out of and I saw what he did, and I got out of the car, and I don't even know what I said to him, but I scared the fuck out of him apparently. And then I got on the phone with people and was like, and everyone was like, no one talked to me for like 2 weeks after they were all saying like, dude, we're like scared of you. We're afraid you're gonna like come and come try to like knife us or something. Like you're like really mad. I was like,
I think I'd be pretty pissed.
yeah, but that was that I don't have a tough presence. I don't have an intimidating presence where people until I get angry and then people get scared of me. So like I come across too nice and people just think they can take advantage of me, and but that's a lot. I did that twice. I did two different like just like I just ran drugs to somebody, and both times somebody tried to rip me off. The second time they didn't get away with it, but still, like I was like, I'm never doing this again. This is the last time I'm ever doing this shit. And I did, and shortly after that, I fell out with all those people, and I stopped doing drugs entirely. I just got clean after that. But I mean, I was never like addicted though. I did it like socially with people. It was just a social group I was a part of, and they all did drugs. So it was just like, I was 19, I was 20. I wasn't old enough to know better. I guess I should have
To
been
not
old
sell
enough.
drugs? I knew that in junior high school.
Well, I thought I was old enough to know better in the sense that I thought I could do it, and then I was stupid. So
Like you
I'm
were
not.
smart enough to get away with it.
Yeah, I
Did
thought I
you
was smart enough to get away with it.
just
I was
did
an
you-
idiot.
Did you
I
only
was a
sell pot, or was it only pot, or you saw other drugs?
no. It wasn't pot.
Oh,
Everybody I knew, my friends were what we called the Rainbow Mafia. They were all gay. They were
Did you
all
sell
drag. They
X
were all
and
drag.
MDMA and like?
They were all drag queens. They all came to Dallas on the weekends and did drag shows. So yes, the things they sold were MDMA, or not MDMA back then. Back then they didn't call
the
it that.
gay drugs. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, I know now.
We sold ecstasy and meth. That's what they sold. So
When I had ecstasy, that was my favorite. Like anything related to a hallucinogen.
ecstasy is great. Ecstasy is great as long as you get clean ecstasy. But
It was pretty clean, but
you can get
so
ecstasy
clean it didn't do anything.
Yeah, right. It didn't have any drugs in it. Yeah, I got you there. I've had that happen a bunch of times too. But like I've also had ecstasy experiences where it made me feel like the world was closing in around me. So I mean like
in a bad way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've had bad ecstasy experience.
Kind of sounds like bad acid trip in a way.
Come down was like
I can see how that might happen.
Was
too.
awful.
I've done ecstasy maybe 7 times total. I mean, I haven't done it a lot, but like about 3 of those times were just awesome, and the other 4 of those times were like either nothing happened or I felt like I was in like or it could have been like what they say, somebody crashed my roll or whatever, and like I just didn't like it. Just like
that happened to me. It does. Yeah. It crashes like right in the middle of it, and then
like somebody comes in with a really bad like
downhill from there, and the next day is horrible. Come down.
So somebody comes in and just throws this negative energy at you because it really makes you really empathetic and stuff to whatever. And so somebody comes in and throws and just like gives you a bad night, and suddenly your night. Whereas if you were having a good night, the ecstasy would make your night that much better. If you're having a bad night, it makes it that much worse. So
I gotta say though, like I never tried it without alcohol, and I
never drank back then.
It was for me, it was the best combination ever, but.
You gotta be careful of that shit though, man. Like, cause like ecstasy can have things in it that like mix really bad with alcohol. Like for example, like one of the things the thing that I regret trying the most because I didn't, and the only reason I did because I had been awake sober, mind you, not on drugs. I could not sleep for 2 weeks at one point, and after we had run out of drugs, and I just couldn't sleep, and I just wasn't sleeping, and I was just like wandering around just like in this haze. And like I ended up at one of our drug friends' houses, and they were like, "Just take this, man. This will help your thing." They gave me this little literally like a soda cap, the cap of a soda bottle, and it filled with this liquid stuff. And I found out it was GHB later, and it tasted like it was like the worst tasting thing. I immediately threw up. And I had the worst night of my life. I would never do that shit again for the rest of my life.
What is GHB? I
don't know. I've heard it's made a floor cleaner. I have no idea what it is, but they called it liquid ecstasy, but it was not that. I would never touch GHB, but GHB is a drug that if you are drinking, if you have even a decently high amount of alcohol content in your blood, it will kill you. It will straight up kill you. It does not.
Well, dude, I gotta say, man, like the time that I had my favorite ecstasy trip was when, and this is back when I was drinking a whole lot, and when I could handle it, I could never do it like I did back then. I had a whole 5th of fucking wild turkey while taking the ecstasy, and it felt really good, but like it kind of sucked though. It bummed me out because my mom came over with my dad, and I was having like a little party, and she just kind of ruined it because she was fucked up on something. She was drunk or something,
Oh.
and
I'm
yeah.
sorry you're drinking. I'm sorry you're drinking wild turkey. Wild turkey is terrible to me. I don't
Well,
know. I can't.
I used to. I mean,
Is that
that
the one
was
with the turkey on
back
the
when I was
bottle?
younger.
Yeah, it's got the turkey in the
Like
bottle.
I was
We had that in
probably
the
in my
cabinet.
There are
It
good.
was so artful.
If you get like the bottom shelf wild turkey, it's awful. There are higher qualities of wild turkey that are actually really decent.
What man,
But
dude? I was a teenager and in my 20s, and I didn't give a fuck.
yeah,
So,
no, I understand. Like even today, like I take a couple of shots of whiskey at night to help me sleep because I got, especially last night. I mean, I busted. Like I said, I was out doing like this clothing thing twice. Once on the way out to my car from my apartment, once on the way back from one of the retail shops. I got my vertigo hit me right as I was like walking, and like I lost my balance, and I just busted my freaking like I can't believe my face isn't fucked up because like I hit my head, but it didn't actually make a mark. But like I ripped open my jeans. I had nice jeans on that like ripped the whole knees out of them, and I have like huge scrapes on my knees. I have bruises all over my legs and my arms.
so you had vertigo?
Yeah, I have vertigo from the I had a bad reaction to the COVID shot.
Of course.
But
Here we go.
Okay. I'm not talking about it anymore. That's the only thing I'm saying. I'm just saying, but that's what happened.
I'm sorry that's happening to you, man, because I know how bad vertigo is, dude. I've had it, but like through MS and whatever else. Like if I had too much to drink, the next day I'll have vertigo. So I can't really fuck around with the
Yeah, I hear you.
What are some things that help, Busker?
Dramamine, is that what it's called?
Dramamine does not help me, unfortunately. Meclizine works better, but it doesn't work well enough.
Yeah,
the best thing I can take.
I take like 2 or 3 of them.
No, I've taken a bunch of them before. The best thing I can take is promethazine because at least it doesn't get rid of the dizziness, but it gets rid of the nausea.
Mm.
And the nausea was really fucking me up because like I was throwing up all the time. But now that I have the promethazine, like I just kind of deal with the vertigo best I can. I just have to stop moving if I'm like doing something. Like I have like a walking stick and stuff like that I walk around with and stuff like that. I have to walk. I have to like to stop every now and then, just like wait for the vertigo to pass and then keep going. And it's just it's become part of my life. But that's the reason why that's the reason why I'm about to get disability. So because like even the disability judge was like they came up with, like I told this on the stream before, they came up with 3 jobs that they said I potentially could do, and they're 3 jobs I've never even heard of, and I'm not even sure that you really exist. One of them was a paperweight tester.
What?
Which I thought it meant you were testing the weight of paperweights.
Yeah,
to
right.
make your paperweights work, and it turns out it's calibrating and testing the machines that measure the paper, like when they do in reams at paper mills.
Yeah,
But still, I think that makes even less sense because they have scales for that, right?
Mm.
Then like the other one was a pneumatic tube operator, which who uses pneumatic tubes anymore? Like, I mean, that was a job maybe in the 50s. I don't even know what it would be.
I've never even heard of them.
Yeah, I've never pneumatic tubes. Like the bank, and you put the thing in the
Yeah. So
that's a pneumatic tube. That's a pneumatic tube.
It's like the same at CVS. They got a tube where they drop the medicine in.
Yeah.
And like it blows down or sucks to your.
But this was for like big. This was for like a big corporate building where they have mail and everything. All the mail comes into like the mail room, and they send it up through pneumatic tubes. And like I don't think there's not a company that I'm aware of that does that. I looked online to find like, are there pneumatic tube operator jobs available in the area? I mean, if they say I could do it, then maybe I'll take that job. And there are no such jobs available anywhere.
They use a lot of them in like really exaggerated ones in science fiction movies I've seen.
Yeah, or in like Mad Men.
I can't think of any
Mad Men used.
name,
you see it in Mad Men, like in the 50s and stuff like
that. Mad Men. But like I remember seeing science fiction movies that had stuff that was based off of that technology.
Yeah.
But it was like
Chris,
way more efficient. What movie am I thinking of?
Deprivation takes. I mean, okay, like it's not. I am perfectly open to any of that stuff. Unfortunately, none of my doctors have I have to get a referral from a doctor for anything, and the doctors I have not referred me to anything. I told my otologist, I guess, which is the inner ear doctor. I told them, like, because did like a minimum. I did the most research I could online about like possible cures for the vertigo, and most of them were surgical, and most of them, almost all of them, basically meant that you would lose the hearing in whatever ear they did the
Oh
surgery on.
God, dude. I
And
yeah,
I told my ontologist, I was like, I'm fine with that. I would much rather lose hearing in one ear than have vertigo for the rest of my life. I would just I'll be fine. I'll deal with being deaf in one ear. I'm okay with that. And so she was like, no, that's not really a an option for you, unfortunately. At least according to her. I'd like to get a second opinion, but I only have like this insurance thing through this hospital that's local. So like the only doctors I can go to are with this Parkland system. So I don't have any other. If I get the disability, I get Medicaid, and I'll have options to go around and shop. And I mean, my goal is to get the vertigo cured. I don't want to be in disability. I just want my vertigo cured.
hey,
So
Chris, have you researched any natural ways of like trying to at least treat it? You know, you ever tried methyl B12? It's not regular B12. It's called methyl something 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 B12.
I want to say I did try that once, like this is like back 2 years ago, whenever it was still first happening. I want to say that was one of the things I came across. I didn't have any luck with. I didn't have any luck with any of the natural things. I mean, like it
Damn,
happened
dude, I'm sorry.
literally the day I got the second jab is when it started. So I mean. I don't. I mean, and like it's just one of those things. I mean, I'm not anti-vax or anything like that. I'm not. I don't.
I
I don't.
am now.
I don't tell people like I wouldn't tell people like I mean if you I think that it did save some people's lives. It did save a lot of people's lives. I think that it's a good thing, but some people are going to have bad reactions to it, just like they are to any drug. And I had a bad reaction to it, and that's just the way it
Yeah,
is.
there's been
You
a
know.
lot of bad reactions, my brother. Lots of bad reactions. I mean, I've
So
seen years and years of it.
yeah, I don't hold it against my doctor. My doctor was doing it.
It's not your
Wasn't.
doctor, it's who's
Yeah.
controlling them. And
Well,
like,
I mean, my doctor's a pretty independent guy. He's not like he himself is kind of a conspiracy theorist himself. So I thought if anybody I could trust, it would be him. And I
Who's
do trust
controlling
him.
the doctors? Y'all talking
right?
about big,
That's what I
big
mean. Yeah.
pharma?
I don't think anyone's controlling the doctors per se.
Dude,
I just
pharma, it has doctors by the balls.
Well, they do
FDA has
incentivize
doctors
them
by the
with
balls.
their because I've worked in healthcare, and like there's been days where more than half of the lobby was pharmacy reps instead of patients waiting to see the doctor.
Not low tier doctors. I'm talking like the upper crust of the doctors and the ones who make the decisions.
Well, what doctors? What kind of decisions? Because each doctor.
Well, the like executive decisions, like the what goes on in the hospital, like
Oh,
we're gonna have to put you on a ventilator because we think you have COVID kind of shit, right?
Yeah, that happened with me and Mike. The doctor wanted to do one course of treatment, and the insurance company or the hospital lady at the top, somebody overruled the doctor and said, for cost purposes, we're going to do this instead. And I've seen that happen, but I don't. That's not controlling the doctors. To me, in fact, they was going against the doctors. They were overriding the doctors.
Well, yeah,
So it's the way the medical, like the payment system is structured or something, and it gives some people power over medical decisions that I don't think they should have because they're not qualified.
the insurance companies are more responsible than the pharmaceutical companies, in my opinion. Insurance companies are like
they're both evil. I can.
But it's a double-edged sword because if you're having trouble with your doctor or your medical, you can sometimes call the insurance company and get them enlisted, and then they will fight for certain treatment on your behalf against the doctors.
I've never had that. I've never had that experience. I've tried that before, but I'm glad you had a good experience with that. I've heard that people have. That's what I was told to do too. Whenever I was dealing with something.
A lot of insurance companies have like patient advocates now that you can call and talk, and they help you figure out
right
your medical.
Well,
decisions,
I don't have
etc.
I don't have traditional insurance. Like I said, I basically just it's a program through Parkland that basically just because I have no income, they don't charge me for any medical treatment. So I don't really have insurance. Like I just have like they just zero out my bill every time. But
Hey,
whenever it but if I get the which I should, and they told me that my lawyer said that like everything was good. And but
Medicare.
I have to go to one more doctor's appointment the 27th, and like that should be the end of it. And then then that gives me the disability plus my Medicaid. And
Yeah,
then with the Medicaid, I can go and I can actually request like other treatment stuff like that. So that's what I'm waiting on with that.
Medicaid, like I think a lot covers the copay and a lot of the treat whatever.
Yeah.
Uh,
So that's what I'm waiting for right now. Like Lindsay's condition isn't something that's going to be curable, but like she's going to be on that for a while. But but still, like I mean, I prefer to work. I prefer to have a job. Like I don't like being like I like feeling productive.
Yeah.
I even like even just going around to the stores this last week and like selling the clothes. It made me feel a lot more productive and alive than I had this until yesterday. Whenever I like I said, I busted my knees twice, and like now I'm in horrible pain. But
oh, shit. So
I am
how did you land on your
sore
knees?
all over. Yeah, I in both cases I got dizzy right as I was stepping off of a ledge, and so like I couldn't tell where the step was.
Oh shit.
And so I just ate shit right into like the concrete. Thankfully I was carrying a tub at the time, and thankfully I had you got an instinct to hold the tub out in front of me, so I hit flat instead of hitting onto because if I held it close to my chest, I probably would have broken a rib again. But no, I had good instincts on that, so I'm at least I'm I try to look on the I try to look on the bright side of it. I try to look on like
it's all about falling well, right?
Yeah. I'm really good at falling.
That's all I can do.
I've said this before because like I was always really clumsy growing up. I was really clumsy growing up. I couldn't roller skate for shit, but we had a weekly roller skating thing for our homeschool group, right? So we had this social thing where we go, and like you didn't have to roller skate, but like after you sit there for so long you get bored, and so I would just get on the roller skates and just go out there and just like I would just like try my damnedest, and I would just fall like constantly, and so I got really good at falling and catching myself falling from roller skating and being bad at it. So I'm really
we're all doing.
That's a skill. That's a skill, man. Catching yourself before you really injure yourself, and then
I've fallen downstairs so many times it's embarrassing, but I've never really seriously injured myself in the stairs. One time in our apartment in Vegas, I took a step off of a thing, and this wasn't vertigo or anything. This was just like being clumsy. It was like because we had carpeted stairs, and like my sock slipped on like the edge of the stair, and like I flipped up and somehow managed to grab onto the railing, which like went into the living room, and I managed to flip myself over the railing, and I landed on the couch just on my butt, and I was like, well, that was like the most Jackie Chan badass thing I'd ever done.
Dude, it reminds me of like a cartoon or something like Looney Tunes.
Yeah, it was like that. It was like that. It was. I've had some Tragic Santa, please. Like what is it you're so in? Why are you so invested in Tragic Santa stories, Frank?
I am too. He has me invested in them as well.
Okay, well,
you always hear the happy, like the Christmas cheer versions. I want to hear the sad, tragic Santa version.
Is that the Santa criminals or something?
I don't know.
Any Santa story that has an unhappy ending. Yes.
The robbers that dress like Santa.
Right. Well, okay. So let me whenever I was 3 or 4. When I was 3 or 4, my parents gave me.
I don't believe you, Steve. I don't believe you, and you owe us a Santa story.
Mm-hmm.
Your worst one.
I'll give you one more, Frank. And it's not really that tragic. It's not really that tragic. But when I was 3 or 4. It was back when we were in my parent the first house my parents had whenever the house I was born in. Or the house that they took me to when I was born. I was born in a different little town near there.
Those details don't matter. Tell us about the Santa part.
All right. So I went into the living room on Christmas morning, and they had a package there that was listed from Santa. It was a square package, and it just had like a little, like, it wasn't like really wrapped. It was just like had like this like kind of like cover over it. It said from Santa, and I took it off, and it was a hamster. And in my brain immediately goes, my brain immediately like put together like did like this, like, did that, like that, did weird kid math, and I was like, wait a second. Santa is supposed to fly around like this. There's no way he's carrying live animals around. And that was whenever I realized that Santa wasn't real. And so I never feared Santa for the rest of my life, because like I knew Santa wasn't real from that point forward.
He has the power to fly all around the world in one night, and you don't think he has the power to keep a
I didn't
hamster
say
alive?
it made sense. I said from my child's perspective, my child brain.
Even from a child's perspective, it doesn't make sense, because my child would argue with your child.
Okay, well that's fine. But in my brain, I remember looking at my parents and being like, "Oh, Santa's not real, is he?" And they were like,
Because of the hamster?
Because it's what triggered it in my brain. I was just
That's
like,
all part of the
oh.
magic to me. Like the initial suspension of disbelief covers things like hamsters. So you,
Dude,
I
knew
the
Santa
magic.
wasn't
You
real
were
from
less
the get-go.
enchanted than I was, and you were able to see
I
through it
was
more
less
than I
enchanted.
was.
I was less enchanted than you were. But like I remember saying that to my parents, and my parents being like kind of like shocked and like kind of horrified by the fact that like they were like, oh, they were like they didn't intend for me to like lose that innocence like that soon or anything. They didn't do anything intentionally. But I was like, I didn't, it didn't bother me though. I wasn't upset about it. I didn't cry. I was like, oh, Santa's not real, is it? You guys must have like, you guys
my
must.
whole world.
This must have been from you guys. And they were like, they were like, they didn't know how to answer for a minute. And finally my dad was like, you're right. Yeah, it's from us. You're right. Santa's not real. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't care. I was a really carefree kid. I didn't give a shit. I was like, okay.
Did you have siblings or anything?
Not yet. I had a sibling like a year later, but I didn't have siblings yet. I was still the only child.
Okay.
I mean, that's actually one of the earliest memory I have in my brain is that Christmas morning is looking at the hamster and being like, oh, Santa's not real. And it just didn't bother me at all. Like, and I'm terrible at getting gifts too, by the way. I am a horrible gift getter. Like I really love giving gifts to people, but like so many times in my life, my parents tried really hard to like surprise me with a gift. And to try to like, they went through like elaborate like things to try to like hide the gift from me or something like that. Remember once they gave me a bike around like when I was like 12 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And they just put the bike around like the side of like the inside the kitchen. And they called me in there to so I would see the bike and I would be, and I just walked in there and I walked right past the bike and was like, what's going on, guys? What do you need? And they're like, I was like, what are you talking about? Like, did I do something wrong? And like, they're like, no, look at the bike. Now I was like, oh, you got me a bike. Cool. I didn't react like really. I never had one of those Christmases where like, like you see like the kid that gets N64 video, and he's just like, oh my God, N64. I never had those kind of reactions like to gifts. My reactions to gifts.
Yay, we get our Santa story from Santa.
No Santa story
himself.
You're the closest thing to Santa. Well, when Chuck's not on here, but he's the Christmas elf.
No, the only
did you grow up with Santa at all? Do you have any Santa story?
I did.
That not, okay.
I don't know. I was probably, God, I think I was in the 7th grade when I figured it out. I was a little bit late to the party.
Ooh,
but my parents never really gave me a definitive answer. They wanted me to figure it out myself. And this is why I made the comment that I did on the last stream that I was on. Is like believing in Santa is priming children to leave the church, because I had to critically think. And I was like, okay, so this and this does not make any sense about how Santa Claus functions. And I took those tools and applied them to the faith that I was raised in, which was Mormon. And I was just like, okay, well, if Santa Claus is this way and he's fake and he's not real, what else in my life is fake and not real?
Like religion.
Yeah, it literally primed me to leave the
Yeah,
faith
it
that I
did
was
that for
raised
me
in.
too.
Well, dude,
Yeah.
Not
Very
intentionally,
interesting.
not knowingly, but it did take the same path.
You know what my second oldest memory is. The second memory I have, the oldest memory I have, was was feeling what I in my little kid brain I felt like the presence of God, and I'd been raised in church and everything, and I remember like repeating like the like the Jesus come into my heart prayer like out in a swing
Oh
set,
God.
and I still, I mean, I still believe in Jesus to this day. I mean, I still do. I know it might be silly to some people, but I still do. I find that I tried to get away from it. I tried my best to become an atheist or an agnostic or something like that, but I never could. And so instead I spent 15 years like researching biblical apocrypha and stuff like that, trying to understand like what the fuck any of it could mean. And so like I immediately lost faith in Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, Tooth Fairy, all that stuff like that in one day. But I was fine with that. So like don't ask me why.
I gotta ask why.
I don't know why. I wish I could answer you. I wish I could give you an answer, but I don't know why. I was 4, right? I was like 3 and 4. Like my brain wasn't that developed yet. It's like the earliest memories I have though. Like the 2 earliest memories I have are realizing that Santa wasn't real, and then believing in Jesus. So
So,
Yeah, that's
ask
not
you this question.
logically that consistent.
it does not. It is not follow logical connections. But then again, do children follow logical connections?
No,
Yeah.
neither do ADHD adults.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So
I'm gonna
I
bust
mean,
your
like
balls,
I mean,
Chris. I'm totally gonna bust your balls. So I'm gonna ask you a question. Are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
Are there other things in your life that you believe are true that you have no proof of?
Yes, indeed. If you've watched any of our streams, yes, indeed,
And
there are plenty.
The follow-up question to that is, do you believe it's a good idea to make decisions based off of false beliefs or unprovable beliefs?
I disagree with Jeff's analysis there.
Go back and watch the streams.
I don't believe in a lot of those things. I question a lot of things. I put questions to a lot of things that I don't feel like I can fully prove one way or another, right?
Mm.
Like I think that evolution is more or less like it's probably real and true, but I also think there's a lot of holes and gaps in it that don't necessarily make sense, and therefore I don't fully believe in evolution as a hard science fact, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hold on one second. What? So I mean like there in terms of like and now in terms of like my actual study of the Bible and everything, I believe I finally came to conclusions and figured out like what I felt like what the Christ story meant and everything, and like I believe that it works both as possibly literal but mostly as a metaphorical type thing. It's kind of something that's kind of hard to explain, but I do think that there's something real about it to me that I can't fully describe. But there aren't any other beliefs that I can think of. Maybe Jeff can list some that list things that he thinks that I believe in like wholeheartedly that are not provable.
We've talked about all kind of things. We've talked about different conspiracies. We had that conversation for hours and hours over the existence of God being equivalent to gravity as a scientific theory.
I was just making a comparison between the fact
I'm not bringing this up to re-argue them because they're already on
I know.
the stream.
Yeah, we've already done the stream.
You asked me to point out some more examples, and those.
I think
you have a writer's brain.
I don't. I
like
think you
to imagine
my
different
point.
possibilities that are less probable than others, and you get some kind of pleasure out of doing that. And we've talked about all of that.
I really think you're misrepresenting my point, though. I was never saying that I definitively think that gravity isn't real or something. I definitively do believe that the math that we use to calculate gravity is not exactly right, and this is.
I will leave it to the viewers to decide because it's on multiple streams, in fact, because we've had the conversation more than once.
I may have
pulled up the AI
I
and included
may
it in
have
the conversation.
misspoken, and I may have misspoken. I may have said things that I shouldn't have said at the time. But my honest belief in those things, like I believe gravity exists. I feel it every day in my life. I have a actual like an experience of gravity. I am tethered to the earth. If I jump, I come
I
back
have
down.
an
I
actual
believe in
experience of free
gravity.
will too. That's just
Yes,
as real.
I do. I believe in free will too.
I don't.
I never said I didn't believe in free will.
See, Steve's wrong
Yeah.
on this one.
Well, you'd
always
have to
be right
convince me
for
that
all
we
of it.
do, because I think the default position should be no, we don't.
Well, what do
But-
you? How does that work on a practical level? How do you like?
Okay,
I
so
try to imagine psychologically going about my life as though I'm not in control of anything, and it just falls apart in like half a second.
well, it's not that you don't have control, and I think this is the part where people tend to make honest mistakes about the logic and the reason behind it. Which is, if you look at it, so human beings are basically decision-making beings. That's what our brain does. It makes
Seems like it,
distinctions and
yeah.
decisions,
Mhm.
right? But if you have no basis of comparison on whether or not a decision would have a positive or negative benefit, or whatever it might be. So let's say that you've only ever watched romantic comedies, right? You've only watched romantic comedies. You can judge good romantic comedy for yourself. And then someone says, "Hey, you should watch this epic trilogy of Lord of the Rings," which is not inherently a love story. It's got some love stories in it, right? You have no basis of comparison to make a valid decision as to whether or not it's a good movie, because you don't have any experience outside of that rom-com. Or if you can run a simple test, right? There's a very simple test. It's like, if I was to ask you to name a celebrity, who would you name, Jeff?
I don't know. Whichever one came to mind at the time. Matt Dillon.
Yeah, okay, Matt Dillon. What about you, Chris?
Gen X Jeff.
Good enough. Good enough. Busker, how about you?
What's this in relation to again? I'm sorry, I was just looking at something else.
No, I'm just asking you. We're using.
I'll answer.
No,
for
no.
you.
What was the
Jack
Just
question?
name a
Talcott.
celebrity. Like, would it just?
Yeah, just name a celebrity.
There's a lot of them.
Just one. Doesn't matter.
What's his name? Well, shit. You put me on the spot.
Whichever one
Talcott.
comes to mind. Beyonce.
But-
Can I change mine to Beyonce?
Yeah, Beyonce.
Beyonce.
Chris is Gen X Jeff. Busker.
Jack Talcott.
Yeah,
That's
that's
it.
excellent.
What about
Michael J. Fox.
Okay,
that's a good
Michael J. Fox, that's a good one.
Lloyd.
That's a good one.
Okay,
Yeah,
Uh,
Fox is a good one.
two perspectives here. One is, why didn't you say Brad Pitt?
Because
Right?
I've forgotten all about him.
Sure, George Clooney.
Forgotten all about him.
Why didn't anybody say that? Right? Because our brains aren't. Usually, you can take something like a celebrity, and you can usually tie that back to the most recent movie or TV show that somebody has watched. But the first thing that you have to do is you have to discover where the thought came from originally, and we simply do not know where our thoughts come from.
But I'm trying to tie it into free will.
Right, and I am. So if we don't know where these thoughts come from, if we can't mark the moment where this decision came into existence, then we have little understanding of what free will actually is.
I'm still not making the connection between experience and will.
So,
Like how
Okay.
one depends on the other.
you can't make a decision about something that you have no knowledge of. So if I was to name another celebrity, Yitzhak Rabin. Does anybody know who that is?
Who?
Yitzhak Rabin.
Yeah, I
Oh,
don't know.
yeah. Doesn't he play violin?
I don't know.
I think so.
But my point is this: is why didn't I choose Yitzhak Rabin as or why didn't you choose Yitzhak Rabin if you've
Because it was
never
on my
known
mind.
of
But
him?
that's-
If you've hold on,
The
Let me make my
decision
point.
itself, like that's the data, the datum of experience. But
Right.
what you do with that experience, to me, is the will.
So
I mean,
hold
you
on.
may not be in control of the data set to work from.
So you
but
just
you-
tapped into my answer. So you can't make a decision based off something that you don't know. Therefore, a priori, you have to make decisions based on things that you actively know. which diminishes your ability to have freedom of choice and freedom of will, because you can only function off of things that you've experienced.
But see, I don't
Right,
see
but
that. I
you're
don't
free.
see that
You're
limiting
free
free
to do
will.
what you will with that experience. You're not constrained in any way by having a limited data set. That doesn't constrain your ability, like your creativity, as to what you do with that.
Like wait, okay. For example, Steve, whenever you said like what celebrity, right? And
Yeah.
the first several things that popped in my head, I thought, okay, Tom Cruise. I actually did think, Brad Pitt. I thought of like Jennifer Lawrence, or things like that. I
And you
chose to
said
say
me?
I chose Gen X
Oh,
Jeff is what I chose
I'm
to
not
say.
worthy. Oh,
Right.
Serious.
But
Right.
so, for example, you went through all of those lists of people that you have heard of, that you've seen,
In like
that
a
you
second,
know.
yeah, in like a
Right.
second, yeah.
But you didn't mention something that you didn't know. So your decisions are constrained by the
But
amount of experiences that you
how
have.
could
No,
you
but not
mention
the
something you don't
decision
know?
itself. If you give me a choice between 5 objects versus 10 objects, the choice is still free. It's still mine to make freely. And it
Not
seems like
necessarily.
you're confusing or implying some kind of correlation between the amount of choice you have and your ability to make that choice being free, like degrees of freedom of that choice. And I don't see
Right.
that connection.
Because you can't make a choice about something that you don't know anything about.
But that's not the same thing as the making of the choice itself. Like once it comes time to make the choice, that is the act of free will, regardless of how much experience you have to base it on or not.
Well, you can only make choices on things that you know.
So when you're
right?
at McDonald's looking at the menu or Popeyes or wherever, and you're choosing between the 5 or 6 items in your Happy Meal, whatever, you're still using your free will to make that choice, regardless of how many like limits McDonald's sets on the items you have to choose from.
So
You're not being forced to choose McNuggets over Whopper. No, McDonald's is not Whopper, is it? Or whatever they have, Big Mac.
Whatever, yeah. A Big Mac, right.
I don't eat any of them, so I don't know.
So there was a study done quite a number of years ago. It's actually fairly recent enough, though. But what they did was they had people sit down with electrodes on their heads and whatever, watch it on a screen. And what they basically found is that people make decisions roughly approximately, I think it was about 300 milliseconds before they were consciously aware of it, to the point where they could accurately predict a person's choice 94% of the time before the person was actively aware that they have made a decision.
Yeah, that stuff like that is more promising as a argument against free will.
I think that's a better argument against free will.
I think it's still open to further stuff. I don't think any of that's definitive, but I'm familiar with it. Like if you're sitting at home trying to figure out whether you want to go get that bag of potato chips or not, and before you actually consciously decide, your brain's already determined what you're going to do in that situation. And the extent to what we can be aware of and override that is all up for debate.
And quantum mechanics kind of throws a wrench in that whole thing too, because the way our brains work, it's possibly working off some sort of quantum principle where information is moving faster than we actually understand, and therefore like our conscious ability to actually say the thing is influenced or is decided before we actually gets to our mouths, before that our speech centers and everything are actually activated and we speak the thing. So I mean, like I think that I appreciate your perspective there. I don't think that I see it as definitive proof that free will doesn't exist.
Yeah, I don't either. It's
the
free will thing for me.
Try. Okay, so let me see if I can narrow this down, because I'm going to take accountability here and say that my the way that I'm explaining these ideas are probably not comparable to what should be done if I was more intelligent. So the illusion of choice is what we're talking about, really. So if you take your example, you go to McDonald's, right? And you have all these different foods that you want to choose from. Usually people can respond with, well, I'm feeling like chicken. I feel like I want chicken. I think I'm going to order a chicken sandwich, right? But when you take that thought, that decision, and you begin to move it further and further back to the point of origin, you lose sight of when and where you made that decision. What influenced you to make the decision? What made you want chicken in the first place?
But see,
we don't
I
know.
separate that from the decision itself. That's a completely different part of the process. And to me, you're identifying it together.
Well, no. So what you're explaining is a how would you put this? An emergent property of your existing options, right?
Yeah,
So you can
and
say,
cognitive processing as well.
right, cognitive processing. What I'm saying is the emergent property comes from something much deeper, much further down. Once it becomes something,
but wherever it comes from, like the origin of it is very early in the process. By the time it comes time to make a choice or decision, that's later. And so I like the impulse to have the chicken is not the same thing as free will. Free will is later on in the process when you're having to choose between your options, and the origin of those options is not the same thing as willing you to choose those options.
So at
It's
some
just one
point,
factor that the will has to contend with.
right? But
And
at some point, you have to explain why you made the decision that you did, and why you didn't make another decision.
Very often can when I've made a conscious decision and exercised my will, I can usually tell you what was
when they're
what
easy
process
decisions,
I
sure.
used to arrive at that choice.
Well, when they're easy decisions, sure. But let's expound this out a little bit. Let's use your logic. So let's say that you are looking to invest in, you want to invest your money into stocks or whatever it might be, right? And you're doing a whole bunch of research, and you're like, well, you know what? This type of stock is the one that I'm most interested in. It looks like it's the most beneficial. It has better payoffs in the end, more consistently over time, and you make the decision to go with that.
And it's black owned.
Okay. Now, how did you come to that decision? Well, you looked at some options, right?
Right. And I'm conscious.
So you looked at a bunch of options.
What options I'm looking at, and I'm considering multiple factors, and I'm conscious of which factors and which emphasis I'm placing on each factor, how much weight, etc., emotionally, intellectually, everything, strategically. I'm doing
Right.
It's all
Absolutely.
part of this like evaluating decision-making process.
Right. My point is that let's say that for whatever reason you were not informed about a fourth option, okay, that could have benefited even more. So if you don't have access to that knowledge, you couldn't have made that choice.
Yeah, but that's not.
I still
don't see how
that's like the multiverse. That's not will.
So don't look at it so superficially, as in like, well, if I didn't have that option, of course I don't have the choice, so therefore it's not free will. I just made the best decision based off of what I had. Again, you have to go back to the fact that the brain is what? It's a decision maker, and to do that, it needs different input, different experiences.
The inputs is not the same thing as the will itself. And so like regardless of the number of inputs, at some point, separate from that, there's an activity called will, or exercising the will, or decision making, or choice,
free agency,
separate from all of the inputs.
And how do you explain in that scenario? How do you explain? Okay, like I'll give you an example from very recently. Okay, so let's say we were out the other day, and we just happened to I was trying to find a gas station, but as we were finding, we drove by a place that I'd never heard of before, like some place that they did like I think it was like a Hawaiian shrimp plate place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't know what it's called now. And going in there, I was looking at different options, and like I saw the things that like I thought looked best at first, but then I saw that they had but then right as I got up to the counter, I saw that they also had like some special thing they were just doing just right then. And even though I already had made my decision about what I was ordering, I just kind of in a moment of almost like a rebellious kind of thing, like, no, fuck it, I'm going to get this thing this thing that I've never even heard of before. Like,
mm-hmm.
how do you explain that rebellion impulse to go against like that instinctual desire for chicken, right? Like if like chicken was the thing that I was deciding on, instead I decided to get lobster rolls, and I just made that I made that option. I made that decision on the spot with like the information had just come in. It just been presented to me, and I had no idea if it was something I was gonna like. I had no idea. I was just like I'm just gonna try this new thing because it's a limited time thing. I'm just gonna see what it's like, right?
Yeah.
So like, I mean, how do you explain that in that system? Because I feel like we have that humans have this natural rebellious kind of part of us that will kind of override even like our most common sense type of arguments and kind of you know what I'm saying? I mean, does that make sense?
Sure. So my argument would be, where did you learn that behavior from?
I was born
That
that way.
rebellious behavior. Okay, so
It's
it's either
innate.
genetic and you don't have a choice
Yeah,
about it, or you're a product of your environment and you still don't have a choice about it.
It's a combination of both. But that rebelliousness, you can observe it in toddlers and babies. It's innate.
But I
Monkeys
don't.
probably.
But if I don't do it every time. It's not like every time I go to a place or something like that, I automatically always take that rebellious option. But like in that moment, I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to do this instead. Or maybe I decide like, you know what, I don't even want this place. I'm just going to go down to Chick-fil-A, right? I just like, I'm just saying like you have like all these like options available to you, and whether even if you don't even know, I don't even know if there's a Chick-fil-A down the street. I just assume that there's usually Chick-fil-A's around. So I'm just going to go find a Chick-fil-A. I'm going to get on my phone and find one and go there. I mean, like, it's like, was that, you're saying that was predetermined because what? Like, well, what predetermines my son decide to like, fuck this place, I'm gonna go get something from some other place when I'm already there, like I'm already at the register, and everything, and like I'm just saying that didn't happen, but I'm just saying like that's something that could happen easily,
Sure.
and like
Yeah.
I don't see how that plays into your plays into the gambit of like it being. And I do understand now your argument about it being like nature nurture kind of thing, like where you're either born that way genetically, you have this genetic disposition to be rebellious, or you're raised a certain way to kind of buck the system or something like that, and like that could influence that. But then again, you can even rebel against that. You can choose to be conformist in that situation, just out of social pressure or whatever the situation might be. But I still made the decision to either bow to the social pressure or to do what I wanted to do.
Well, was it you that made a decision, or was it your brain that created the formation of the idea between two different choices? Right. That's my point. Is like when you get down to the nitty gritty weeds of it.
But regardless of it, it's still my brain, though.
Sure, it's your brain, but your brain can't make a decision that it has no idea of an alternate choice.
It can.
It can't, because if it hasn't experienced it, it can't use it as a reference.
It can imagine a like I could be like, you know what, I would really like instead of like I'd like to find Scotch eggs, and I can go on my phone and find a place that does Scotch eggs, and like I can go find that. I can drive halfway across the city for that if that's really what I wanted to do. I mean, like, I don't have that information. I just know that it probably exists. It's probably going to be available to me somewhere in this massive city. So what if I just like, I'm just saying like there's so many things that like I feel like you can definitely make an argument against a certain type of definition of free will. You can define free will in a way where free will doesn't exist, but I feel like free will, the way that we normally define it, exists at least in some capacity.
Well, and my argument is the illusion of free will. So if you take a couple of different other examples, let's say. Well, before I get to that, my argument is like when you get into the weeds of it and you really try to look back at where that thought came from in your mind, right? So let's say I want chicken today. At what point in your brain did that thought come into existence? And did you have a choice not to think about it? Well, no, obviously, because you're thinking about chicken. You didn't actively say, I don't want to think about chicken. Another argument is against free will is actually history. So if you look at science, for example, there is no new ideas in any field anywhere. All ideas are based off of other previous ideas. going back all the way through time immemorial.
Sure. No,
When someone,
yeah, everything is built on something else. I
Right.
agree with that. Like
Yeah.
we're all the products of generations and generations of genetic lotteries and things that build up to this point,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
It's like,
but at the same time, somebody born into that would be like saying if you're born poor and you're born without any of these certain kinds of advantages like that, then that means you're predisposed to that's the kind of thing where people think that people are predisposed being crime, but those people can still make the choice to not do that and to try, and even if their family and their parents and everything are drug dealers and everything else, and it's part of it's, you could say that they're part, but people still rebel against that and still make a choice to. I mean, I think that to a degree we do have those instincts and those we have those tendencies to default to non-free will type decisions, but we have the ability to take agency and make free will decisions at the same time.
yeah,
I think
and
I think free
I
will
get
has
that.
to be exercised. I think free will has to be exercised, and you have to actually you have to perform
But
it.
it exists. You have the ability. That's the argument for free will.
So I understand the argument for free will, but I feel like we're not tapping down on this this point that I'm trying to make.
Okay.
If you cannot discover where that thought originated from, then you have to acknowledge you were not in control of that thought.
But how okay, here's what I'm confused about. How is being in control of where a thought comes from the same thing as being in control of a decision you make between a set of thoughts or choices? To me, they're two different things, and you're talking about them like that is free will is that one thing.
I mean, I see that as a definition of free will, that you can definitely define it like that, but I don't think that free will has to be defined in that sense.
Because there's a series of these moments when you make a decision. So again, we'll go back to chicken, right?
The decision is separate.
We have to figure out. Well, hold on. We have to figure out where the thought first came from, and then we have to figure out where the thought to go against that thought came from. So at every single level of this decision-making process, we realize that we were never in control of how that thought sprang to our mind in the first place.
No, but we're not claiming to be in control of that. We're claiming to be in control of the ability to choose between the options that do originate.
Right, but you still have to have at some point where you made the decision to do that, right? Where did that idea to make the decision come from?
That's free will.
I'm saying that's against free will. That perspective is inherently against the idea of free will, because if you don't know how you came to that conclusion at the very, very beginning and all the way through where these ideas came up and you were able to discern between these two things, like using critical thinking is a good example. Like, these are tools that we've learned over time. Well, I couldn't have used that tool effectively if I didn't learn about it from somewhere else. So at some point in time, you've learned, because the brain is a decision-making tool, right? At some point in time, you've implemented tools that you've learned along the way to make these decisions.
I'm pretty sure as a toddler, I was like on my own, playing with things and exploring and learning and breaking things, getting into trouble and adapting, and just my brain on its own as it interacted with its environment. Before people were actively teaching me things, that process was already started.
So there's a really good argument here, which is, as children, we're not necessarily blank slates, because we understand that genetics do play a role in how we experience and how we interact with our world.
Everyone has different tendencies and temperaments.
Boys have a tendency to like things rather than people. Girls have a tendency to like people more than girls, or more than things, right?
More than girls.
So yeah. So these kind of genetic markers help us define how we're going to move throughout the world, right? So if you're a boy and you like things, you're going to explore things. Again, if this is the option, you didn't have a choice in it. So
because that's just where your natural tendencies.
That's where your natural tendencies
that's like
come
sexuality
from.
and like food preferences and stuff. It's
Exactly my point.
idiosyncratic and individual.
Well, it's idiosyncratic and individual, but it's also based on culture, location.
Well, it can be.
What are
I
your
mean,
parents
some of it
like?
can be innate. That's
all,
the
all,
nature
all of those
nurture
things are
line, and it's
influences.
hard
Yes.
to draw definitively on that scale. It's easier to do on a very individual, situational level, and even then, it's hard. Like if someone has a preference for, I don't know, pistachio ice cream, how much of that is innate, and how much of that did they pick up through like some childhood experience? Like it's so hard to separate that line.
So let's take that for example, pistachio ice cream. Let's say that you have pistachio ice cream and you like it. Did you have a choice in liking it?
No, I don't think.
Can you actively dislike something that you like? Then it's not a choice.
I've learned you can learn.
You can learn to like
certain
things. You can also
I've learned
to
to like things. Like I've tried them enough where the taste change.
Right.
And
So what you're doing is you're hijacking the brain.
I've also liked things and then over time started disliking.
Yeah, my taste preferences have definitely changed from a child to as an adult.
Right.
And I wasn't
Perfect
controlling
example,
any of that. Like whatever I liked as a child, I liked it because
exactly you didn't have a choice about it.
Right, but none of that's
there was
real.
no opportunity to make a decision on it.
Like
but those are different kinds of choices. Those are different kinds of choices. Like there's a different.
Yeah, I think there's entire categories of choices and concepts that we're talking about here, and they're all getting lumped under one thing called free will. And when we break it down, we're not talking about the same things or the same part of the thing, because I think it's a complex. It's like a collection of concepts.
Oh, absolutely. I don't deny that last point right there. What I'm saying is like, anytime you make a choice, you have to figure out where that choice came from.
It came
and
from
if you can't tell me where it came from, then it's obviously not your choice. And if you do,
like if I ask you to pick a number from 1 to 10, whatever number you tell me came from you. However you got that number.
I would argue that.
But no one's forcing you. Like
that.
You can give me any number you want. Nobody is nothing. There's no automated process that's forcing you to come up with one number over another. That's as much of a belief as you're saying free will is. If it's this gray area and we can't see into part of it, then any assumptions about it is speculation.
I mean, what about this? What about like, okay, you're driving a car, right? Every single second you're driving a car, you have the choice. You're constantly making choices about keeping the car straight in the road, or you could easily just like let go of the steering wheel and let it and let yourself careen into traffic and crash and die. But so every second that you're not doing that, you could say that you're making a choice to keep yourself alive by driving properly, right? I mean, so like, is that? I mean, I could tell you I can tell you where that choice comes from, where the choice to not want to die, the choice that I don't want to abandon my family. I don't want to, there's reasons that I am driving safely as opposed to just like crashing my car into any car I see. There's a reason to actually act that way, and I can explain that choice.
Okay, so you would inherently, again, we go back to the fact that the brain is a decision-making model, right? It makes decisions based off of benefit and negative benefit.
You make decisions.
Well, the brain does it for you.
You are your brain. You are your brain. That might be part of the difficulty.
I believe in a spirit.
The same thing. If my brain's doing it, that's me doing it.
That is one difference between me and the two of you. I don't think either one of you don't believe in the spirit as a thing, right? You don't believe in like the soul, the spirit type thing, right? Do you?
Well, I think the soul is an emergent property of a very complicated brain. Yeah, I do believe it exists, but it exists as an emergent property of all the things that collectively make us and our experiences.
Okay. So you have a different definition of soul, but yeah,
correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't believe in the woo-y kind of magical soul that everybody else might believe in.
I mean, I don't believe in woo-y magical per se, but I think that's actually something that science. I think there's actually something scientific behind it we just don't understand yet, myself personally. But I mean, I don't.
That's just an arbitrary belief, like scientists.
Yeah, and I might be wrong about that. I totally leave room for being wrong about that. That's just something that like to make sense to me. I absolutely am willing to change that belief if something could show me that it was definitely not. definitely not real. But I mean, I know
So here's a
it's
good
kind
Well,
of,
case.
some
it's kind of
beliefs
an
are
unprovable thing.
unfalsifiable. So, like
So-
some
That's
beliefs
true.
you can just believe because you want to believe them. They give you whatever kick out of
So
it, and
when
they're not
when
gonna
they
be
did
false.
they did a study of a couple of different people who had their corpus callosum cut. So that's the part that interconnects the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere of the brain.
Mhm.
And there's many cases, nearly almost all cases where that has occurred. People have experienced the left side of their body doing something that they are not consciously aware of it doing. So there was a story of one guy who would try to get dressed, and while his right hand was buttoning up his shirt, his left hand was unbuttoning it. Like he had no conscious choice in what his left hemisphere was doing, like none whatsoever, obviously, because if he did, he would button up his shirt and it wouldn't be trying to unbutton it at the same time. So when you take that into consideration, you realize how heavily our decisions are based off of how our brain functions, first and foremost. Second of all, the thing that we can take from that is there are certain choices that we are not aware that we are making. If we are not
Okay,
aware that
but
we are making them,
but you could also
then
say
we
that
cannot be
Yeah, but
consciously aware.
I wouldn't include those
separating,
under free will.
separating the left and right hemispheres of the brain is something that's unnatural and something that is would definitely be a detriment in general. So they could be chalked up to a defective, just a defectively working brain at that
No,
point. I mean,
so
that doesn't
that's
necessarily.
not my argument. My argument is that our brain is doing things behind the veil of what we are aware of.
Uh-huh.
It's operating on its
Yeah,
own,
I do
independent of
agree
what
with
we're
that.
consciously
I agree
aware
with
of.
that. I agree with
Right.
that.
So if there's
I'm talking about higher level decisions when I talk about free will.
okay,
Yeah,
the
me
same
too.
rule still applies. Somewhere the decision is being made without our conscious availability to see it.
But free will comes in when we can see it and our consciousness can intervene. That's the moment that free will comes in.
But you don't know if that existed pre your view of it.
I don't care when it existed. My argument is that it exists. Like it's whenever it comes in, and it may not be all the time, but when it does come time, it's a real thing, and it exists, and we use it.
So my point is that it is illusory. We can see what we can see,
haven't
but we can't see
convinced
what
me.
we can't see. And so these things that we call decisions are not actually what they appear to be. They are veiled behind a subconscious that we can't even acknowledge because we're not aware of it.
They're what they appear to be to me. Like when I'm making a decision,
Right.
it appears that I'm thinking through options and choosing one, and that's exactly. I
Well,
don't
that's
see anything in experience that contradicts that appearance.
well, it's so the illusion of free will is a real thing. We experience it, we see it, we feel it, but as we start to begin to pull back the curtain of what we consider free will, we understand that there's a slew of different problems that come into play, into existence, that we still have yet to be able to explain. This is the hard problem of consciousness.
You
Exactly the
see
hard
all that.
problem of consciousness.
I don't. Yeah. Well. Yeah. I agree about the problem of consciousness.
And this is why AI will never be truly AI, because we don't even
I
understand
agree with that.
how
I agree.
that
I've been saying
hard
that.
problem of consciousness occurs.
Yes.
I agree with
So
that completely.
It all ties back to that singular problem.
Well,
But
why
that-
do we
but-
agree
but
on some
then-
of it and not others?
Then,
Then?
well, actually, no, wait. Actually, I disagree. Then, and when you think about it, in that case, if we have no free will, we're basically nothing more than the moist robot theory.
Well, that's what I was getting.
We're
The
moist,
original.
we're moist programmable theory. Then AI is totally possible. But AI can
The
literally
whole
be
we're not
conscious and
AI.
everything.
The whole conversation started when I was trying to tap into the psychology of somebody who does not believe in free will. So you wake up every day, and you're just at the mercy of, like, you're not in control. Like everything that happens to you is you're passive. Like if I get in a car wreck and hit somebody, I'm gonna be like, oh man, I just hit that lady. I feel terrible. My action caught my decision making caused that. And are you like, that was the will of the universe? That wasn't me,
No.
or it was preordained? I couldn't avoid not hitting her. It was the psychology of the believers
Right.
that I was
So
trying to understand.
I would highly recommend people read The Master and His Emissary by Ian McGilchrist. And what he likens it to is an elephant and its rider. Now, the elephant is the subconscious. It's the collected library of our experiences.
You're talking about all the little brain stuff we're not aware of. If we
right, all the little brain stuff that we're not aware of, chemical imbalances, balances, you name it. Right. So you have the elephant, which is the subconscious, and then you have the rider, who is the conscious brain. Now, the conscious brain might say, "Well, I want to go over there." Well, if the elephant doesn't want to go over there, it ain't going to fucking go over there. So what he argues is that these two systems work symbiotically together. But at the end of the day, the subconscious has a much larger role in what the conscious brain is aware of as choice.
How do they know that? How is it determined what the proportions of role are?
Because we can actually influence those choices, and we can actually study those choices and the reactions that our brain makes while making those decisions. That's why the previous study that I mentioned about being able to detect a person's decision before they're consciously aware of it is so valid.
Okay. How about
they
this?
like even animal, like your cat, your pets can sense your emotions, like even before you're aware of them. Your animal, the animals around you are tuned in to human emotion on a level beyond what we're even able to be aware of ourselves. Well, I mean, so I know that stuff like that happens.
So, there is such a thing as instinct, right? Absolutely. We all have instincts. They are predominantly what is pretty much agreed on by everybody is that they are hereditary in nature. Like we pass these on down via oh God,
all of that is the body
process of evolution, right? The people that are prone to having better instincts tend to survive more and reproduce more. But these are those people that their gut instincts are more right more often than not. They can't explain why they made the right decision, but they make the right decision every fucking time.
There was a deliberative process.
Yeah, I mean, that's debatable, but my point still stands is that,
that is the debate. We would do it for 2 hours, an hour.
Well, no, because we'd have to do a whole bunch of different digging for that one. But taking the animals, for example, animals operate off of a very completely different set of circumstances.
Well, even animals, like they problem solve, like the crow that puts the wire in the jar to get the bean or whatever. Like animals can think through problems and solve too.
Sure, so intelligence definitely plays a role. Sure.
Yeah, they can experiment and will different possibilities.
Sure, but that doesn't mean that there's necessarily a consciousness there. It can mean they're
how do you know they're
sentient. We can test that. We have yet to have a dog
in a crow's head when they're reaching into the bottle with a tool.
So one of the criteria for consciousness is the ability to explain what it is like to be that thing.
That's your criteria.
That's a scientific criteria.
Well, from whatever source you're using, but I might define consciousness a different way.
So,
like the ability to explain itself, it may not necessarily be an essential feature of consciousness to me, because I believe that animals are conscious, whether they can explain it to me or not.
Sorry, I was just looking at Frank's fucking comment.
Because he didn't even have one. He did try. No, I think this whole conversation started with trying to talk about Santa.
I will say, they're in the world, there's definitely a lot of things that happen to us that are not our choice, right? And you could definitely make the argument like we lack free will is the simple fact that we live in a world with all these people and actions are ping ponging around, and you can get hit by a car that has absolutely not your fault. You can get murdered, you can get killed like that, right? You can die.
I got in a car accident on Friday.
Right. You
what?
can get it.
Almost totaled.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that.
I had no clue what happened. Are you
I was driving 60 miles an hour along a road that the speed limit is 55. I was coming through a light, and this
consciously, you willed that, like you said, I know what the speed limit is, and I'm choosing to go this limit.
Well, I tend to go about 5 miles an hour over everywhere I go.
But you were conscious and aware of what you were doing.
Yeah, I was consciously aware of what I was doing. I was just driving to because I do a degree of adult education after hours. So, but anyway, so I was going to this class, and and I was driving down the road, and I was going straight. I was headed northbound. I had a green light, and this person in a little Honda Accord decided they were going to try and beat me through the intersection. And I took the back half of their trunk off. Like it was, I got my foot on the brake and slammed on it. And no sooner did that happen than I hit them. So yeah, I mean, these things happen, you know what I mean? So yeah.
Right. Okay. I mean, even in that, you could even say like that's partially your free will for driving. If you hadn't been driving 60 miles per hour instead of 55, that you might have missed that type thing. But I'm saying like let's put this in a vacuum, right? Like everybody is doing exactly what they're supposed to do, and like or whatever, but still. Molecules bounce around and they occasionally collide, right? You know, like things happen in a kind of a random sense, and like the way that we envision the Big Bang and things like that, right? Okay, so like I mean, like just say in the world, like let's say that the world goes like that, and like there's things therefore that are outside of our actual ability to consider, like to will those things. Like whenever I fell yesterday, like I didn't make the choice to fall. My vertigo suddenly just like happened at that moment, and I had no ability to judge the distance of the step I was stepping off of. Therefore, I fell. So like
I
wouldn't use that.
What you're saying is you didn't have a choice in whether or not you had vertigo.
Right. So I didn't have that. Okay, so
that's not free will. Nobody talks about that kind of stuff when they're talking about free will.
Well, I'm getting to a point though. You yourself, Steve, you've talked about some of the experiences you've had in your life and stuff like that, and like things where you've had like anger issues or something like that. I think you've mentioned like you had some issues like where like there's things that I remember you talking about how like there's things that you told your wife and you wish you'd never told her those things, right? And you made the decision to do that. Like now these things happen to us, like we have these experiences and stuff like that. We can't control those experiences, but we can actually consciously choose how we deal with them and how we think about them and how we process them. And like see, like that's the part where I feel like free will really comes into it, because if you have a traumatic experience that happens to you that has like no matter how far I look back into the last few years of my life, and I am an obsessive like loop thinker about trying to figure out like where I went wrong, right? Like where did I fuck up to make these things happen, right? And I can't find a place where I did, like no matter what I choose in any scenario I run. You probably could. You probably could. But I'm just saying. But I'm pretty good at figuring out scenarios, and I couldn't figure out I can't figure out an exact place where if I did this differently, that this would have gone differently. No matter what I see. I see like things like from a certain point things would have gone the same way, right? So but the way I choose to deal with those things, the way I choose to process and learn from them, that is where I feel like that's where I feel like free will really comes into it. Maybe I'm just being hilarious. Seems like Frank and Jeff are both laughing at me.
Well, everything's hilarious with Frank, but what time is this stream ending today? Like, am I in control of the time that this stream? Am I going to?
You always are, Jeff.
You absolutely are.
Or is it out of my, like I have no choice over what time the stream ends, and whatever times it ends is already predetermined by my biology or the environment or social circumstance or astrology or whatever.
Well, try making a choice that you don't want to do.
It seems like I could choose to end the stream at any time. That I'm in control.
Are you pulling a Jack Talcott, Jeff?
Huh? What is he doing? What I don't know. What?
Oftentimes I'll come into the room and he'll be like, "Well, it's time to wrap up."
Oh no, I was just using that as an example.
No, he's just we were having a conversation. He was just using that as an example of free will. That's all.
No, I'm not ready to wrap up. But when I decide to wrap up, whatever time that is, did I choose that, or was it chosen for me by the universe or whatever, the body?
Or experiences.
And Steve is talking like he knows he definitively knows these answers, and I'm saying there's so many gray areas here. I don't know how anyone could possibly speak
I'm
authoritatively.
not saying I have all the right answers. I'm saying there's more than enough questions to justify my
No,
disbelief
no,
in the freedom of choice.
questions are fine. That's what I'm always saying. Like whenever I talk about these things, I'm not talking about them as like a definitive belief in them. I'm talking about that there's things I have questions about, and questions that and like that keep me from having a solid belief in those things. This is where me and Jeff like conflict, because like Jeff perceives it as me saying like I definitively believe these things, and I'm saying
you go back
I
and watch
question
the
it.
stream, and that way nobody has to
It's okay.
mischaracterize
And that's
anybody's
fine. I'm
word.
sure I
And
misspoke, and I
on
probably
top of all of
probably
that,
came off wrong.
on top of all of that, more importantly, I want to hear from MoOse about
Yeah, what's your opinion,
travels.
MoOse?
Are you what's going on? Give us an update.
Oh, I'm spending a couple days. This is the last day with some of our family over in the Santa Cruz Mountains.
Oh, okay. So you're still in Cali?
So yeah, I'm lit like a candlestick right now. Not even gonna
Okay.
try to hide it.
Oh.
I got to make a
Nice.
phone
Well,
call real quick. I'll be right back.
all right.
Yep, they got some good weed out here. You know, I'll be honest.
Oh, you're in North Cali?
I'm in by Santa Cruz.
What's that? Humboldt County? Is that a movie?
There's a movie called that. Yeah. There's a movie called that.
There's a TV show about it too, about the growers out in Humboldt.
Is that the one with Mary Louise Parker?
I don't know, but it's a freaky one. There's some people that go missing.
Oh yeah, I know that's the Ozarks or something like that. Ozarks. Is that one with Jason Bateman?
No,
Ozarks?
it's with Humboldt, not the Ozarks. Ozarks is like Kansas or
I don't
something.
know. I just remember in terms of shows about people growing drugs. There's like Weeds, and there's that one. It's the only ones I've ever seen.
I tried to watch Ozark. I just couldn't get into the first.
I couldn't get into it either. It didn't appeal to me.
I did try.
Yeah, that country bumpkin thing wasn't for me, but I watched it for a few seasons.
I watched Weeds because Mary Louise Parker was really hot in the first couple seasons, but
I watched the first few seasons, but I don't remember anything about the show really. Like
I just remember her being.
But I watched it every week.
I remember her being like extremely hot for like a woman in her late 30s, early 40s. Like
is that the one with was Rachel Harris her assistant, or am I thinking of?
I think it's something else. It was mostly about her.
Her
husband died. Her husband died, and she started. It's got like Kevin McNeilin in it, or Kevin Nealon in it. It's about like she starts selling weed. Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely remember watching it. I just don't remember.
I stopped watching. I stopped watching around season 5. It moved to Mexico at one point, and it got really weird, and I lost interest.
Isn't that really funny? A lot of us have seen it, but like a lot of us don't actually know what happens in the show very much.
I mean, I know what happened. I know what happened in those first 3 seasons. Whenever like it's set in the suburbs, but whenever it moved to like Mexico and stuff, I stopped watching it. So I don't know how it ended.
Is it because of racism?
Yes, definitely. No, it's just because it was
too much brown on my screen.
It was still mostly about white people. It wasn't anything through that. It just wasn't. The interesting thing about the series was like the suburban setting and like how like it, like it was like this like it was all these like cookie cutter houses and stuff like that. And
the ticky tacky that song that was the theme song.
And then when it moved to Mexico, it turned into a
hot
hardcore
mom
crime
stopped
thing.
being hot, Chris, because she started sleeping with everybody. So that's what happened. She was a MILF, and then she became a dirty slut. And then the show went downhill. No, seriously, go take a look at the running. Like you can look at it and see it clearly has a decline after she becomes a hoe.
There you go. Go hoe, go broke.
Go hoe, go broke.
Which it's usually the opposite, right?
Well, do you have an opinion on free will though, MoOse? That's our topic for the day. So.
He's high. Well, give it. Yeah, we can get the stoner.
Yeah, let's get
the right one.
Dude, I totally believe in free will. I believe that we have the choice every single day to, like, and every choice that we make shapes our destiny.
I wouldn't be able to do the mental health work I do if we didn't have will and agency over our emotions and reactions and drives and impulses and other people, etc. Like, that's what I'm trying to envision what the world of somebody is like that rejects free will. That's such a bizarre universe to live in to me, because it's so counter to everyday experience.
I mean, I see receives coming from in a philosophical sense, but but considering the stories he's told us and the things he's talked about on the stream before, I find it really hard to believe that he isn't leaving free will, because it seems like he's exerted a lot of agency and a lot of free will in his life to do a lot of the things he's done. It just seems like
he's on the phone. We're talking about him while he's.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to talk about.
I forgot he's not here. He can't hear any of this.
I will repeat those.
I would say philosophically, it seems rather murky to me, and I think that's where Steve and I are caught up. There's different philosophical presuppositions at work.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. And there are levels of consciousness and levels of decision making that I think are less dependent on free will in a conscious sense. That we do some things that are just like kind of like we have instinctual or just like
and my whole part of the debate was that it exists, period. And because there's some that say it's an illusion, it doesn't even exist. And
I think that people that say that we don't have free will are being lazy, because they're giving their authority up to somebody else to dictate every action that they take. And
I'm trying.
Go ahead.
I can see that. I can see how that could be a way of avoiding.
Because Steve's not religious, so in his case, the authority would be what? Nature, biology,
and genetics.
Body. The first. I'll call it the first factor.
So just because I don't believe I have a choice in where my decisions come from initially, does not mean I can't be held accountable for them.
So there is some choice somewhere.
I'm not speaking directly for you, Steve.
If you have no choice if you have no free will, you have no choice, then why can you be accountable for them?
Well, let's say that I make a choice that ends in my death. Well, I'm still being held accountable for them.
Consequences. Well, that's really consequences and accountability are two different things. That's a consequence. But I'm talking about accountability. I'm talking about okay, you choose to murder somebody. You're saying that like on some level you didn't have the choice.
It was made for me by
and therefore whenever like they take you to jail and they hold you accountable for that murder, you really shouldn't be held accountable for it, because it really wasn't your decision. Like consequences and accountability can be different things, because accountability can be put upon you or not. You could also get away with the murder too, right? So I mean, you could not be held accountable. But
so are you aware of the decision that the decision that is appearing before you? Say, oh, I can either kill this person or not kill this person. One has net benefits, one has net negatives, right? Again, the brain is a decision making tool. That's all it is.
I don't. I don't think that's all it is. I don't think it can be reduced to that.
We tend to choose the option that gives us the most benefit. And as a matter of fact, we do have rules like this, which is we can decide whether, well, not decide, that's the wrong word. We can investigate as to whether a person is consciously aware of the decisions they're making. So we have insane pleas in courts. Like, are these people consciously aware of what they did? Like, we already have a standard for that.
Oh shit, sorry.
So that's kind of an easy argument to.
Sure, but those pleas are not accepted in many different cases. Many people are found competent and are found to be perfectly capable of the first degree murder itself is a premeditated choice that someone makes to murder somebody. So so there's insanity pleas and stuff like that, and in many cases, maybe those people are actually insane. Maybe they literally have brain dysfunction that does limit their ability to have free will. Maybe they didn't have maybe that person didn't have free will because they have brain damage or something like that. But I mean, to say that free will doesn't exist at all, I just find that to be, I don't know. I just think that's very limiting.
That's okay. I mean, you guys can believe whatever you want to believe. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and change your mind, but.
I'm not trying to argue it like that. I'm just like I'm interested in your perspective on it. I'm just trying to understand it better.
Well, I will try to be on tomorrow. I've actually got to run my son to a dentist appointment.
Okay.
So I will try to catch you guys tomorrow, and we can dive into it a little bit more.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right, we'll see you guys.
Take care, Steve.
Bye, Steve. Thanks for coming
by the way, there probably won't be a show on Wednesday. I have an appointment and I work in the afternoon, unless Chris wants to host on his stream today.
I'll do it. I'll host it again. I'll host it for my channel. Just for the hell of it.
Frank is particularly exercised today.
So wait, you're saying that you're taking a day off?
Wednesday I have an appointment and then I have to work in the afternoon. So I have like too much going on to fit a stream in. It's like a leave the house day, so it's not something I can do from my bedroom.
I got it. You know what?
But last time I did that, Chris was able to do it on his channel.
Yeah, I will.
Keep it going.
We just have to show up for Chris that day, folks. We'll have to show up. We'll show love. Show Jeff what we've got. Our 10 likes. We're gonna do it up, and we're gonna turn them into 15, and then 20, and then 30.
I'll invite. I'll message Neurojack and TML and Joshua Jones and all the people that won't come to the stream anymore and see if they'll show up.
What is it like? What do you like when business? You haven't used a business for a while. They see.
So what's up with all these people? All these people won't come back to the stream now. Like there's
because of literally nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. It was what is it? Uranus and Pluto.
Yeah,
Pluto
something like that.
Something. It was that. It was some
more like Pluto and Uranus. I'm sorry about that. I apologize.
I just don't.
So yeah, we have our own little stream going that we're continuing with whoever wants to be. Yeah, because I'm trying. Like my real goal here. I mean, we clown and have drama and all that, but it really is to help people become the best version of themselves and like tap into their highest potential. So I don't want to enable an environment where like the worst parts of people they come to hang out here.
Well, what about Chuck? I mean, he's nearly on his deathbed. I don't think he's improving or running a decathlon after this.
Chuck, what do you have to say to that?
I didn't hear the last part.
Oh, I was just saying how after watching this stream, you're not going to go run a decathlon or anything.
Yeah, how are we improving your life at all? I think just
various topics.
Yeah, I think just like giving a place to hang out, and I like Chuck's energy.
without beating the hell out of each other over it. In most
Chuck
cases,
seems pretty healthy to me. Like if showing up on these panels is keeping him healthy and grounded like he is, it's working.
Yeah, because I'm basically trapped in my house.
Is that voluntary?
I agree, Chuck. I agree. You are trapped in there. This is a great place for you.
Well, I have a wife with Parkinson's that I have to take care of, and then I have my kid with autism that I have to take care of. It's not like I can go run it. I can't go run the street like I'm a teeny bop with no responsibilities.
And can you believe that Chuck took 30 minutes away from his day to come meet me at a truck stop and have a Black Rifle coffee?
Why?
We were together about an hour, MoOse.
It was an hour. An hour.
Have you come through? Have you already driven? Have you driven past Texas? Have you driven past Texas?
Have I ever, or have I done it this time?
Have you already driven past Texas? Because you talked about coming by and
I'm
visiting.
still in California.
Still in California.
Oh, you're still in California. So it's like, well, when you head this way, like, let me know, okay?
I will.
I want to know why.
You don't have to. God, I will.
Why did Chris and iFi get into a spat?
Hey, what's going on with iFi? He's mad again.
I don't want to talk about iFi. I hate the fact that iFi rules the conversation when he's not even here. It's just
no. I was just asking a question. Was all. I didn't want to get into no detailed synopsis of iFi. I just trying to figure out what happened.
I don't know. I don't
it
think
started on Discord that day that iFi was going off into the woods.
Just don't talk about him getting pegged by his wife. That'll start a whole nother
I guess
chain of
people
drama.
are touchy. It's a sensitive area for people.
Yeah.
Golly.
All I know is that like because I'm friends with Lib, that automatically makes me a trans commie, and therefore my name is Queen Christina. That's the extent of the thing, and I don't.
So
And it doesn't
basically,
even.
because we're friends with Liberty Holmes, we're now trans communist
Well,
agitators or something.
Just me, as far as I know. I haven't heard him say
This
anybody
is
else.
I-Fi logic.
Yeah.
Try to decipher.
I mean, dude, we're gonna need like the Da Vinci Code to figure this shit out.
Yeah. Need some sort of like master like a decoding device. What they call that thing from World War II, like the Enigma machine. We need like an Enigma machine to decode his
So you're
his logic.
saying gayness wears off? Contagious? What?
I don't know. I mean, I just think it's hilarious that you think that's a way to troll me. Like I just think that I just think it's funny. The one day, but the last time he was on the stream, I was like, yeah, we should like let's just drop him off the panel, because he was just. I mean, he's still welcome back on the panel. He is welcome on the panel. We muted him from the chat because he was being a dick in the chat. But he's still welcome to come back on the panel anytime he wants to. It just gets boring with him. He repeats the same.
I would even consider unhiding him from the chat if he has something constructive to say. But the thing about I-Fi is he comes here at his worst. It's like he deliberately brings the worst part of himself, no matter how many. Because I've seen what he's capable of, and no matter how many times you try to foster it in that direction, he just insists on showing you his ass every time for some reason, and I don't want to enable that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do the opposite.
Last night.
Every time he's on the show, it all becomes about him and people arguing with him, and it's just boring because he never makes any new points. It always goes to conservatarianism and all this stuff like that. And we've heard it all before 1,000 times. It's not fostering new conversation. It's not moving anything forward. So, I mean, like we just like that one day I was like let's just like take him. Let's just put him in backstage him. Because like he got so butthurt, he was like there those Nazis. He did the same thing that everybody.
Yeah, but he said we banned him, and that is not true. All I did was hide him in the YouTube comments.
Yeah,
and
backstage him, and he did the same thing that one of these. You didn't backstage him?
I didn't even backstage him. He left.
Oh, he left himself. He left on his own accord.
I did mute him for a second because he would stop talking and let the person talk.
Oh my God! I thought you back. So like that's not even like his whole entire argument's completely false.
Very rarely do I remove anyone from this panel. I might have moved I-Fi once, maybe twice, but almost all the time when you see I-Fi leave, it's because he left on his own. It's never because.
God damn it! I did
say, yeah, I removed him one time because I said, let's do an experiment and see what happens in the conversation when I-Fi is not here. And so I took him out. I backstaged him.
And that was a while back.
And the conversation instantly improved. And so I left him. I left him out the whole rest of the time. So that was part of the experiment.
That was a while back too. That wasn't even the last time. But it just gets ridiculous. It's just like one of those things where why would we want our show to be taken over like that? Why would we want
like it has been the last 10 minutes when somebody said, why are we talking about I-Fi in the first place?
I just asked a question was all. I didn't know what the
We're not mad at you, Chuck. We're not mad at you, Chuck. Don't worry. Nobody's mad at you. You're one of the
Chuck's
good ones.
the only person I know that's been thrown out of almost every single panel. He's not worried about it. He does it on purpose.
But we've never thrown Chuck off a panel. Chuck has never gotten thrown off this panel. I guarantee you that. He's never been muted in the chat, and he's never been thrown off.
You don't have to reassure him because he's not. This isn't a place of punishment here. You're not like taking him out back and whipping him like a dog.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and just like I mean,
he's Chuck fine. I'm just saying.
Chuck makes occasional jokes that are really funny, and he contributes good things to the conversation. I think he's a valued member of our community. I have nothing but nice things to say about Chuck.
Chuck is very similar to like Rob Schneider. Like he says a one-liner that really hits, and like it'll stick for like the whole show and then the next show, and then it kind of just it fades away and you're waiting for that next one liner.
Okay.
I've been accused of that.
I like this idea, Frank. I would do one.
What's it say?
A pajama party. A stream
Oh
party.
boy.
If you show up, you have to cam up and have your jammies on.
This pretty much it. This is what I sleep. I sleep in my regular clothes.
I do too. I sleep in t-shirts and boxers anyway, but I would come up with something.
I don't wear jammies.
Sexy.
Yeah, me too.
Chuck sleeps with his 45.
The closest thing I'll do is I will sometimes sleep without a shirt on. That's about it. That's close. I have a serious like PTSD anxiety attack thing about not wearing jeans. I feel like if I'm not wearing jeans and something happens, I feel like it's like extra time I have to get ready to like run to the hospital.
So you sleep in your jeans?
Yeah, because it's because of all the time I spent with like I didn't sleep for ages because like I was worried about Lindsay like wandering out of the house and stuff like that. So I was always clothed and always ready to like go at a moment's notice. I slept very lightly and I barely slept at all for like 2 years. And so like I have like this like I have this if I try to sleep without pants and sometimes even without a shirt unless it's really hot I can do it just because like it's just too hot. But like I get anxiety attacks about it. I can't sleep. I can't sleep like that. I have to feel ready to go at all times.
Hey, the firefighters of the world probably appreciate people like you. Because if you died from some random heart attack, they wouldn't have to go in and look at your schlong. You know what I mean?
Just the morticians. Yeah.
I'm just saying, you're doing the world a service as well. Like, you know,
well,
it's bad enough they'd have to collect you.
When I used to not wear pants, I still used to wear like underwear. I never slept nude, but
you weren't pulling like a Ron Jeremy.
I can't sleep nude. I can't
sleep nude either. All that air.
I've tried.
Well, it's too much open space.
Yeah, I just like everything's just kind of like because I move around a lot in my sleep, so like things get like shifted in ways that are uncomfortable. So I can't do that.
Yeah, me neither. Okay. Hey, Reddington.
Hey, yeah, what's up, Reddington? I haven't seen you today. Anyway, I guess we're kind of wrapping up now. It seems like then.
All right. Speaking of Ron Jeremy, we're about to wrap this up, folks. So if you could hit that like button, share, subscribe, and just remember that one of these days, Jeff is not going to be here, and he's got better things to do. Life goes on. Chris will be holding the channel.
On Wednesday, we will do the show on my channel. I posted it in the chat just a little while ago. It's just youtube.com/@satiriconoclast. You can just go there, and that's where the show will be on Wednesday. We did this about 2 months ago, so it'll be just like that.
Yes, it'll be the same show. Like if you've done it 2 months ago, you're doing it again. When is it? Tomorrow? Wednesday.
So, yeah, we'll be here tomorrow. Regular.
We'll be here tomorrow.
And Chris will be there at the regular time Wednesday too, just on a different channel.
Right. I'm going to the fucking zoo tomorrow, so maybe I'll show you some monkeys and shit while I'm there.
Oh, Frank will enjoy that. Frank,
yeah, that'll be cool.
It'll be like a little reunion.
Yeah, that's a good plan for that. I'd like to see that. And besides, I already restream the show on my channel every day anyway. So like, I mean, like some people actually for some reason watch it from my channel. I don't know why. I have like 3 viewers on each stream. I don't know who does it. I guess the people that don't want to come back to Jeff's channel for some reason. It's really dumb, but anyway.
Because they're gay haters.
It's already there. It's already there. If you guys want to, if anybody wants to go and watch the show from there, you're welcome to. Jeff, last time Jeff should stop by a couple times. I imagine he'll stop by a couple times again. So
if I'm able to, I'll have a short little break somewhere around that time. I might be able to pop my head in.
Yeah,
maybe on my phone.
Just to make sure Chris is doing a good job. I see.
Hey, Yeah, I think of it as caring, not as like like big brother looking over me.
Overlord. Overlord.
Yeah. That's what they say in business. They always tell you they're family, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, here's your last paycheck, son.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Paycheck?
Oh,
I don't get
I've been
paid.
caught by that so many times where they have you
I don't
thinking
get
you're
paid
part
for
of a
this.
tight, close team. Everybody's expendable.
We're a family here. I promise you that.
Yeah. I don't even
And
trust.
then
My
they
trust
peg
is
you.
so shaky because of shit like that. Just
You're important to us.
Yeah, you're a
what?
valued member of our team.
My
So
last job,
valued.
she gave us Christmas bonuses, and she said like we're her dream team. We're the best team she's ever had. We're the team that she dreamed of putting together when she first set out on this thing. And then like a few months later, she was firing me. I'm like, what about the dream team and the Christmas bonus and all that? I had never gotten a bonus before, ever in my life. I was so like that really made me feel like we were doing something good as a team. I fell for all of that.
At Amazon, they used to call people in the office and tell them they used to say they were getting a promotion, and then they'd say that you're being promoted to customer. I cannot believe they got away with it for that long. They eventually got in trouble for it, and they had to stop saying that. But they did that was policy for a while. That you didn't get fired, you got promoted to customer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
it did, Reddington, like very quickly too. It was that drama triangle that I talk about all the time, the Cartman triangle with a victim, rescuer, perpetrator, and there's almost always it's like a female-driven dynamic. Usually, in my case, it was a effeminate gay man, but there were females involved. So yes, it did. That drama triangle can turn anything into a nightmare like that. It just capsizes social reality instantly, whatever sets it off.
But we're family here.
The thing I found that I don't care the situation, whether it's family, friends, work, the minute money comes into play, things get piled up.
Why are people so weird about? Is it because of what money represents? It's like the psychology that around money and what it represents, status or something.
I'm not sure.
Chuck
I hate money. I've always hated money.
Once Talcott got money from Chuck, he started treating Chuck like he was the devil.
Oh, you gave Talcott money?
Yeah.
No, well, it's probably because you didn't give him more money after that. If you kept giving him money, he probably wouldn't have done that. But yeah,
he says my money's dirty.
Chris, look behind you. Look behind you, real quick.
Lindsay, you're on camera.
I just want to make sure she was aware.
Yeah, she's not aware.
Oh, am I gonna still have my channel?
No, she's not naked. She has shorts on.
She's not naked, dude. She's.
I can't. That's not my specialty. I don't have it.
No, you're gonna shut down. But believe me, people go on streams and like wear bikinis and shit. It'll be fine.
Okay.
Chris is just like, whatever, dude. It's all good. Jeff's like, dude, it's my channel, bro.
I was looking out for his. I didn't.
No. I appreciate you looking out. I didn't know she was doing that, but
I would have put a blanket over her so I was in person.
Was she taking bong rips back there or what?
No, she was just getting stuff out of the refrigerator. She doesn't have any clothes. She just doesn't have any like pants on.
Oh, I thought you were. Are you not in your little downstairs
She's wearing like
room?
She's wearing like boxer shorts and she's wearing like a shirt. So yeah.
Oh, it looked like drawers. It didn't look like boxers.
They were boxers, but yeah.
Seeing. Okay, then I'm not worried.
Anyway, guys. Well, I guess that seems like about time to wrap up then. I will see everybody tomorrow at the normal time, 2:00 Central.
Well, Chris, I never thought we'd be wrapping up on your wife's ass, but here we are, and I'm sorry, but
MoOse,
it had to be said. It had to be done, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
It's not as big of a deal as it's not as big of a deal as I think it is.
I never liked zoos as a kid. I hated seeing the animals in the cages, but
I don't like zoos, but
excited to see something interesting.
I don't like
tomorrow.
zoos, but the Dallas Aquarium here is fucking amazing. Like they have like a lot of their animals are just like out where like there's a sloth. They have their sloth exhibit. It's just like there's a tree in the middle of like the walkway, and you can just like the sloth will just like sit there on the tree, and he literally it's just like have you seen like Hedonism Bot from from Futurama? That the sloth will just take grapes like this and go like.
Oh my God, Chris, when we were young, we went to outside of Dallas somewhere. There's a safari park that you drive through. And we went to it as a kid. And they had like rhinos and giraffes and hippopotamus, all kind of stuff. And you could feed them out of your car. They gave these big buckets of feed. And the animals would stick their big heads in the car and try to eat out of the bucket. I remember all that. And it was somewhere around Dallas. So they have the wild animal park.
I don't know about that one, but that's
what they
cool.
did as a kid.
We have the Dallas Zoo, which is a big zoo. We have the Fort Worth Zoo, which is actually probably a little better, even though it's a little smaller. They have better exhibitions, and then we have a couple of like kind of weird independent zoos, and then we have that aquarium, which is much more of a zoo than an aquarium. It's just all indoor, and they have the best exhibits there. They have a big like tank that has like a shark and you can sharks and manatees in it, and they have they have dolphins, they have otters, they have sloths,
the things that are the aquarium.
Tree kangaroos. They have fucking tree kangaroos, which I didn't know existed. I didn't know that was a thing. They're like these crazy looking like things that just like I don't know. You look up tree kangaroo, you'll be like you're like that's a real thing. It just doesn't look real. It really doesn't. But
oh, it's cute.
Yeah, they're cute. Bear. Yeah, they're like little bears, but they literally they live in the tops of trees out in like Madagascar and stuff.
They don't look anything like a kangaroo. I don't know.
They don't look. They don't. But it's because they hop. They literally hop from treetop to treetop. They're insane.
Oh, they hop like a kangaroo.
Yeah, they hop like a kangaroo. Yeah.
This is the little boogers.
I like them and red pandas. I remember the first time I saw a red panda on the internet, and I was like, how did I not know red pandas existed for all these years? I was like convinced like it was like a Mandela effect or something, that like this animal got introduced into a software update in our simulation or something for a while, because like red pandas are the cutest fucking things I've ever seen, and I never saw them until I was like 27, and I was like, how did I not know these things existed my whole life? Red pandas are you've seen red pandas before, right?
I think so.
Look up red pandas. Like if you saw look up red pandas. Red pandas. There's especially because they like to get up on their hind legs and go like this and go like. Rawr.
Oh yeah, I've seen
yeah, they're adorable. God, they're the cutest fucking animals I've ever seen. They've been river otters. River otters are also cute. But yeah. Anyway, well,
all right.
Good night, everybody.
Nice note to end on than Lindsay's state of undress.
Right. Well, we're ending on tree kangaroos and red pandas, so that's better. So,
see y'all tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, guys. Bye.
And are coming on the Discord with us. I'm sure we'll do something. So until then, ta-da. Goodbye. Arrivederci. Peace out.